probably a few days late, but I still want to give y'all an episode review for episode 14 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I got some shiznit to talk about because it's some bull going around. So let's talk about that too while we in here. But if you want to keep watching this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel unapologetically. And I'm trying to do better, y'all. So that's why I'm back with this review for episode 14. With episode 14, I thought episode 14 was good. I thought it gave you a chance to see some different parts of people. You know, at this point, you're finding out, you know, Sonia is pregnant. Which I think is great information. You know, I think it's great for them that they're, you know, going to be able to expand their family and all of that. So I think that that's super, super amazing. You get to see that Drew, you know, is working on this craft, and you got the table read and the acting. Like, I will say this with the past, y'all, that, you know, the table read was just the initial table read. And once you see how this comes to life, I think you guys are going to be really, really, really excited to see that. I will note this, and you know, and I probably would have said this in a later review, but I will say that coming into this, you know, I've worked with a lot of different housewives, just as it relates to just in any various kind of ways. Coming into this with Drew, I will say that I gained a newfound respect for Drew. I still believe Drew be lying, y'all. Let me make sure I say that now. I don't want to give her credit without being honest now. I believe Drew be lying. Let's just make that very clear. But after I worked on the project the past with Drew, I got a whole new respect. She is a professional. She is a really good actress. You know, like, she comes, she's prepared, she gets into the role, she is, you know, so all of those things. And it just, like, I appreciated how she showed up for the project. And so I will give her credit where credit is due, that, you know, I enjoyed working with her on this project. I enjoyed working with, you know, a slew of the other people that worked on the project also, you know. But I will say, just because we're talking about the review of The Real Housewives, that with her, it was a little, you know, I had a moment. So you get to see that process. You see the table read and all of that. You get to see the idea. I mean, you get to see also the pain that Drew's family has went through and how they're trying to use this platform as it relates to her sister with the wellness part of things. And I think that is very good to see, because a lot of times with mental health and things that are going on, specifically in the African-American community or minority communities, we don't really talk about it. We really kind of push it to the side, and we really kind of be like, you know, like, they're just, you know, like, you know, like, they're just a little sad, but it's been going on for a few years, or this is happening and they're just, you know, for some reason they're overwhelmed, and we kind of try to downplay the things that people are going through in their life. And I think that when we see this, you know, Drew is taking the moment with her sister, who went through these moments of overwhelming, you know, mental, like, just pain. And, you know, using it to be like, let's kind of work to better the community. And I think that part is, you know, is really commendable, to be honest. Just, you know, I have a friend, if you know, Rashawn Miller, Eustress is his company. He is a minority therapist. But I think that what happens is, you know, sometimes that work, it can be a little harder, because it's harder to break the stereotypes of what people think about therapy for our community and all of those things. But if you do get a chance to check out Eustress and his work also. So I thought that was good. You also get to see, you know, Shamia and Kenya and Candy get together, and they talk about this very interesting thing. So this has two parts to it. So they start to talk about the dinner that Martell did not pay for, right? You know, like, they're talking about this dinner that Martell didn't pay for, which is very, very interesting to me. You know, they start talking about in the after show. So that's why I'm bringing this up, because I think that some things that said in the after show kind of really need to be brought up in here. So that's, sorry if that leeway, if I didn't give you enough segue to that. So you hear them talking about this dinner that Martell did not pay for Sheree. Let me just say this. Sheree would have had a better chance of dating Marlo, because at least Marlo would have paid for it. Now, even if I don't like the things that Marlo does, I can agree that Marlo is not going to show up and not be there for her friend when it comes to actually like paying for her dinner or something like that. If Marlo was going to be there and it was your birthday, girl, you was going to get your dinner paid for by her at least. The fact that this man is on this platform and Sheree is going so hard about people's conversation about this man, and this man asked her friends to cash app him $1,500 for the birthday, was ridiculous. Because let me just say this. I could have paid for Sheree's birthday. So if he can't pay for it, that's a bigger problem. Like, I think you might need to check your mans, because you're living in this $1 million house and this man is, but you're setting yourself up already that he couldn't even do your dinner. That is crazy to me. We get to Sonya and them in the after show, just as an FYI, like they start to have this debate. And Sonya sees what Sheree is, saying as it relates to, like, I hear you, y'all haven't been together. I think Sonya was letting her have one on that. Sheree was not letting Sonya talk. And I think that part was the funny part to me, because it was like you were trying to stop her from saying what she had to say by just talking over her and all of that and, doing what she does. But Sonya was making like she expected, because Ross, her husband, would have paid for it. Kyle would have paid for it. He's done it before. They've done it before. Like most people, Monyetta's husband would have paid for it. Like most people, their man would have paid for it. But she would go to bat and be ready to go so hard for this man who, baby girl, you weren't even worth the dinner payment. If that's not a telling time of some things, like he didn't even want to pay for the dinner. Ugh. And so watching the after show and seeing them, Sonya and Sheree, go back and forth about it was kind of hilarious to me. I was like, oh, okay. Interesting at that point. So, I think that it just was like, I saw the dynamic and I was like, okay, Sonya, you should be looking like, you see how she ready to go hard on you about her mans. But that's the crew that you sticking with. I just thought it was quite funny. Speaking of the after show, a lot of you guys have hit me. Because it was things said on one of the after shows that you wanted me to address. If you do not know what I'm talking about, I will go ahead and address it. On the after show, there was conversation about Kandi and the gang, and Marlo brought up her nephew again. So let me just say this before I go into this segment. I do not like to speak ill of the dead. I also do not like to comment on certain things that could be kind of sensitive. I am bringing this up because it was brought up on the after show. People have hit me about it, and there was some incorrect information as it relates to what Marlo said. So I just want to clear it up. So, giving some Kandi and the gang information. Kandi and the gang started in the top of 2020. Okay. Marlo's nephew died, I think, in 2021. I'm almost positive if I got the dates right. So at the top of 2020, Kandi and the gang commenced taping. Prior to Kandi and the gang commencing taping, they were, talking to and interviewing the people who, could be good fits for the show at the end of 2019 or so. At the end of 2019, it was like, okay, focusing on this front of house staff, which is like servers, bartenders, hosts, managers, those kind of things. When people say back of house, they mean like cooks and dishwashers and all of those things. They were focused a lot on that staff. So they interviewed people and they said, you know what? We like these people. At the end of 2019, they decided, okay, the staff for Kandi and the gang that were going to be on this show were the Old Lady Gang, Candy and Todd, Patrick, Dominique, Brian, Torin, Chandrika. It was another young lady named Kimmy, and it was another young lady who was in the fold to also be on the show. Okay. And that was the cast of Candy and the Gang, right? As you even know, I was not on the cast of Candy and the Gang. And other people that you saw later was not on that original idea. Prior to the commencement of taping, it was two other young ladies, I'm sorry, that name I didn't mention, that were also in the mix. Prior to the commencement of taping, they were like, hey, this person may not be a good fit also, and hold up, you probably have to be a part of this also, with how intricate you are in the restaurant and the dynamic that you have with the people and all of those things. So prior to the first initial taping in 2020, the top of 2020, before COVID, I was added at that point. So before we started taping, I was added, and that made the cast round out to be these people: Kimmy, Dominique, Chandrika, Torin, Brian, Patrick, me, and it was like one other young lady who was kind of in and out, who was a bartender, very pretty young lady, who I think her name was Bobby. And so like that was for the most part the cast, where, that was the cast. If I'm missing somebody, I'm sorry. I said Dominique, Chandrika, like Patrick, Torin, Brian. Yeah, I think that was the cast. So we commenced the taping. COVID happens. We tape about one or 2 weeks. COVID happens. We shut the production down. We do not know if this production is coming back. 2021, I think it is. They decide the production is coming back. I think it's 2021. Yeah, I think it was 2021. The production is coming back because the show came out in 2022. Yeah. With that, it was like, hey, things have changed. Some of the people don't work there anymore, blah, blah, blah. And so they were like, hey, who's still working there? Because we're following reality. Who's not? And they went to say, okay, we're going to change out. So Kimmy no longer worked there. Bobby no longer worked there. Patrick was now in a relationship, so Safari came along. Philip was now working there, so he came along. Ricciardo was now there, so he came along. And we kept the original people. And then they said, well, the dynamic, because Patrick and Melvin are so close, and plus he's Candy, so we probably may add one person from the back of house, which is Melvin. So Melvin was added at that time. I say this to say, I wasn't even on the original cast at first, up until prior to the first initial taping. And then a year later, Melvin was the only back of house person that was added to the cast. No back of house people besides Melvin were added to the cast of Candy and the Gang. They were not focusing on those individuals. So Marlo told a blatant lie on the dead. She lied on her dead nephew. Her dead nephew was never, ever a part of the cast of Candy and the Gang. Her dead nephew, if he received any agreement, maybe he was seen in the back of a scene because he walked by and they had him sign a release because they saw his image. I don't recall that happening. Let me not say that part didn't happen. But she said he received a contract. That is a blatant lie. And the fact that she would use her dead nephew as a lie and lie on the dead to tell a story that means nothing, or to even continue this misinformation, is crazy. It is sociopathic to me, because I can tell you, and if I had my phone right now, I would call any of the cast, and the cast would tell you he was never a part of the cast. He was never approached to be on the cast. He was never given a contract to be on the cast. He was never thought of to be on the cast. He was never interviewed to be on the cast. So I think it is weird that she didn't know he worked there. If you see from her text where she talks about Do you have someone that used to work there named blah, blah, blah? But now she has this agreement that he was so happy about for being on the show when they didn't even really talk. If you want me to drop the real news, they didn't really talk like that. And I could call any of the people who worked at the restaurant and that will be like, yeah, they never even mentioned it. Like, they didn't talk like that. He would say that. And like I said before, why didn't she give him a job then if that was the case? But I don't like when people use the dead and lie on the dead to make a story for a reality show. I feel like you are very much using your family for a storyline, and it's not okay. And I will tell you, and I don't really lie, that he was never on the show. He never filmed to be on the show. Again, if he walked in the back of me right now and they were like, oh, we got to get him to sign a release because he did that, yes, maybe. But as far as being a person on the show, no. When he started working there, if he died in 2021-ish, if he started working there, then like the show, we were already had the people who were, gonna be followed with the show. So again, no diss to him. If he said to her he was going to be on the show, that is, his business that he said to her. But for her to say she has a contract, tell her to show the receipt of the contract. I want y'all to go to her page, tell her to drop the contract. Tell her to drop, she has been a friend of the show. She's seen many of these contracts. Drop the contract. If she drops anything other than a standard appearance release because somebody's seen somebody in the back, I would be surprised. But if she even has that, I don't think she has that. So it annoys me when I have to address people's lies when it comes to things that don't even mean anything. You shouldn't have to lie about something that means nothing. It meant nothing for you to try to say the restaurant that you hate so much because all you do is dog it out on TV. You shouldn't be trying to associate your deceased nephew with a TV show about a restaurant that you hate so much. And you definitely shouldn't be lying on your deceased nephew to try to sound good in an after show. So, I don't care if you guys go back and tell her. You can take this clip and tell her. Tell her to drop the receipts and quit lying on the dead. She's lying on the dead. And it's like really, really sickening. So, sorry that I had to go on that tangent again, y'all. But it drives me insane when y'all come to me and y'all have like a complete lie and it involves something around me. So I am telling you from the straight facts of the show. Even in the beginning, I was not on the show. Later, before the first taping, I was at it. Then later on, Melvin was not even on the show until we came back after our hiatus from COVID. That's when he was at it, and he was the only back of house person. If you notice, you don't see people that were cooking on the show. Melvin would be the only one. What would make it think that her nephew would be the other person that they would want to add to the show when they don't even have Kendy's own family who is in the back of the house on the show originally? Doesn't make any kind of sense. But to some people, that would make total sense. Just don't get it. Don't get it at all. But that is my rant. That is my unapologetically rant right now. Yeah, that's my unapologetic. I'll be having a lot of stuff that I want to rant, y'all, because it's certain stuff that I just be wanting to say, like, questions to, like, and I'll just drop it at the end of this video, and maybe y'all could tell me, like, certain things I want to question, like, okay, we're seeing this whole thing with The Blind Side, Michael Oher. Is it not weird that that movie came out in 2019 and it is like 15 years later and now this man is just now the week that his book comes out trying to sue his family? I'm not saying that they did right or wrong. I'm not on the family side. I just think it's kind of weird. Why do you wait 15 years after you retired and now you're trying to sell a book and now you want to sue them? Seems weird. We can talk about everybody fought for Britney Spears to be off her conservatorship, and things don't look too good, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. Have anybody thought we should have minded our own business and let her family take care of her? Just saying. I don't know. I just be having random rants like that where I just be like, y'all, I kind of sometimes want to speak on that, but y'all don't want to hear that probably. But again, thank y'all so much for watching Unapologetically. I appreciate you guys coming over here. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the above. Thank you for continuing to watch. I'm wearing my Don't Make Someone a Priority That Makes You an Option Nope shirt. You can get it at thenewmeaning.com. You'll also be able to book your one-on-one consultation for your business if you would like to. Drop the link right there and put the flyer up. And y'all continue to hopefully come check me out over here. Check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and all those places. And thank you again for being you. Thank you for watching Unapologetically. Until next time.